Welcome back to KP Unpacked. My name is Jeff Echols. I'm the Executive Director of Catalyst here at KP Reddy Co. And as always, for KP Unpacked, this version of the podcast, I am joined by KP.
It's actually
That seems
me.
like a surprise. Yeah.
It's actually me.
You know, I think what I should do is I should go to my favorite LLM and say, if I were going to host this podcast, who would show up?
Yeah, there you go.
And maybe it would say KP. That's a little bit of an inside joke. Before we got started, we were talking about a post. Maybe we'll touch on that probably as we go along. But this is my opportunity. KP and I record every week. We unpack one of his LinkedIn posts. And, you know, with the expansion of places where we post and now the launch of Catalyst, which is our online network, we're starting to pull in other posts in different places. But this is my opportunity every week to say to KP, hey, what were you thinking when you posted that on LinkedIn or wherever it is? That's obviously a little bit of tongue in cheek, but what inspired that post? Why, where were you? What conference? Who were you talking to that made you think about that, and why did you post it? And so to me, this is a lot of fun. It's the time where I get to pick KP's brain about what's going on around the innovation for the built environment world.
You know, Jeff, I just had a divergent thought, right? Like if you
that surprises me.
if you follow me on LinkedIn, why would I try? Because it's a little bit of effort to get into Catalyst, right? It's free.
Yeah.
Right? We don't charge anything.
Yeah.
You know, they have to apply, and there's some scrutiny there. And then
they have to talk to me.
Talk to you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like hazard pay.
It is.
Having to talk to you. And then they get in, right? So it's like,
Yep.
I was thinking about this, like, what's the difference, right? With the extra amount of effort, why am I going to join Catalyst versus I'll just follow KP on LinkedIn? And I was thinking about it. One, the reason people ask, like, why do you guys go to all this trouble to curate the community? And it's like, well, that's the point, right? That's the point.
Yeah.
It's to keep out the trolls. It's to keep out the salespeople and the random people that are just self-promoters about something that no one cares about. Like Autodesk sales reps. We try to keep those guys out. So.
I see on my calendar that I have a call scheduled with an Autodesk sales rep later today.
Hey, Ian, be sure to hit up Autodesk for a sponsorship. Now, I make it very difficult to sell sponsors. When I give all the big companies a hard time, like, KP, they're not going to sponsor anything you're involved with.
This episode brought to you
by not Autodesk,
by Bentley.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that's the difference. One is, like, I don't really comment when people, when I get these like posts that get 200 and something reactions and all these comments. If you notice, I don't really comment on them, and I think what I do is I end up taking what I posted plus all the commentary, and I kind of reframe it, and then I post it in the Catalyst, right? And then I actually engage. Then I'm like, people say, hey, what's this about? I'm like, oh, here's what it's about, right? And I think the podcast is another form of some of those things of extending the conversation. And I think in Catalyst, I'm just able to make it much more, when I have time, personalized and relevant to the questions that people are asking. And if you notice, like LinkedIn, I never comment. I never respond to comments. It's just too much. And some people are just a bunch of weirdos.
Well, so those of you that listen to that closely just figured out that my job is to be the gatekeeper and keep the weirdos out. So I'm going to add that to my LinkedIn profile.
There you go.
I keep the weirdos out. But and the thing about Catalyst too is you're exactly right. It's what we're working on is building this community to be as large as we can, certainly, but it's a large number of quote unquote the right people. Right. And so, as I'm interviewing all these folks, and KP is being serious about that. You put your name on the wait list, you go through this process, this vetting process, and then you do literally end up on my calendar, and you and I sit down, or you, the person that put your name on the wait list, you sit down with me for about 20 minutes or so, and I tell you about Catalyst, ask you, why you're interested in Catalyst, and go through that process. And one of the things that I think about this community as it is already, and we're already getting a high level of engagement. We're going to talk about a poll here in just a minute, and just looking at the percentage of people in the community versus the percentage of people that voted on the poll as we're recording of this, it's a huge number. It's a huge percentage.
Yeah.
And to me, it's really wonderful that as I look out across the people that I'm talking to, and I've done, I don't know, upwards of 80 or so, 75, 80 interviews by now, but it's the designers, it's the constructors, it's the developers, it's the owners and operators, it's the funders, it's the founders. There are no silos.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all focused on innovation for the built environment. That's the way we've been saying it, for all time here. But it's the people that are looking at AEC, CRE, built environment, whatever label you want to put at it, and saying, how can we do this better? How should we do this differently than we do today? How should we do this differently than this is the way we've always done it, right?
Yeah.
And that to me, and what you're saying, bringing a different level of engagement,
Mm-hmm.
you yourself, KP, the person, bringing a different level of engagement to Catalyst, that's a good argument too, right? Because we throw topics out there, and we can have a startup founder and a funder and an engineer and a construction manager and whoever joining in the conversation, and get all these diverse points of view on any topic that's thrown out there. So,
But I also think, and we can refer to the survey we did.
mhm.
So I basically put a survey out there saying, hey, who's out there vibe coding, right?
Mhm.
And it was like 73% said, I am. Like, yes, I am,
Yeah.
right? If we take that same survey and we put it out to AIA, ASCE, and all SMP, all the various, I
Mhm.
think we would have had 73%. What is vibe coding?
Yeah. Why
So
don't
I
we?
think we do have a biased audience, right? We have people that are either at the top of their game doing
Yeah.
things, talking about things, whether it's AI or vibe coding or whatever, or they're at least trying, right? And then I think the second category was I'm not, I'd like to learn. Was like
Mhm.
I think there was like 3% like no, never. But I
Yeah.
think the
Yeah.
bulk of it was either I am 73%, or the rest were like, hey, help me. I want to know how to, right?
Yeah.
I don't know that if you polled any subset of AGC or whatever, I think you'd get a lot of like, what is vibe coding?
Yeah. So understanding that, and I've got the poll in front of me, and you hit the number right on the head. No, what's vibe coding was one of the choices, and right now that's at 3%. So that's a really small number, but and also we know that in instances like that, there are plenty of people that are not going to admit that. So in a sentence or two, what is vibe coding for those that either self-identified or refuse to identify that they
Well,
don't know? What is?
it's kind of funny, right? So vibe coding, I forgot who coined it. Someone coined it because people coin things, but
Yeah.
I think vibe coding is just this idea, right? It's this idea that you don't have to be a programmer,
Right.
and you can just sit in front of, our team uses Cursor, Replit. I would say Lovable is a good starting point. It's a great starting point. In fact, Airtable now has a code development engine too, so it's becoming pretty prevalent. But the idea is you're not a coder, you're a subject matter expert, and you can prompt these systems with no coding experience required to build stuff, right? So it's just
Yeah.
people building stuff, right? And so I think what's really cool, Dave on our team, Boston Dave, told me the other day, like he he's doing screenshots of products and then feeding that. He's probably going to be mad I'm giving away his secret. It's a secret, right?
Yeah.
He'll do a screenshot of an app of a product he likes and does screenshots of the product. He puts it into ChatGPT and says, create a prompt to create this software. Then he takes that prompt and drops it into Replit or Warp or something, and it creates the software.
That's pretty
What?
wild.
Like what? Like, so
Yeah.
I can go into Procore, and just like screenshot all the screens, drop it into ChatGPT and say, hey, create a prompt that describes this screen, right? And it does that. And then you drop that into, and like now you have Procore.
Yeah.
You're paying $20
Sorry.
a month for Procore.
Sorry, Ian and Dave. KP just ruined another sponsorship opportunity. And by the way, that wasn't a trade secret. That was a Dave secret. That
Dave's gonna be like,
yeah. That's incredible. But that's where we are, right? That's where we are with a lot of these tools, right? I think that's, to me, and that's what I pay attention to a lot as I'm experimenting with things. Like, okay, how do I take this one and tie it to this one and tie it, so on and so forth? How do I get it to do all these things?
But what's interesting, so I was at this private equity conference last week up in Napa. It was horrible. It's just horrible. Like, it was wine and rich people. It was just terrible. I was out of my element. I was
for those of you that aren't in our Slack channel, he complained the whole time.
It's like all these people were wearing collars on their shirts. I don't know what that's about. I don't know what purpose that serves.
No rock t-shirts.
No rock t-shirts, collars. Like, that gets in the way of your beard. Like, I don't understand. Drinking all this wine. They're like, hey,
terrible.
Do you taste the currants? I'm like, I taste grapes. That's what I taste. And this is not Maker's Mark. So it's a little different environment for me.
You live a sheltered life.
Yeah. But I had this guy come up to me. It's like there's some networking and stuff. And he worked for like one of the consulting companies that implements, let's just say, one of the top 3 CRMs, maybe top 2, right? The CRM that we all know. I'm not going to call him out because he's probably listening to this. But so he comes.
I'm going to ask ChatGPT.
Yeah, so we're sitting there, and Dave Swider, who's new to our team, David's with me at this conference, and he walks up on this conversation. And so I'm like, look, the company you work for will not exist in 3 years. And he said, I mean, come on, 3 years? I'm like, yeah, you're right. I might be wrong. It might be 2 years. Like, I'm trying not to get into time, horizons. It's just more like, this is where it'll end up. Is it 3 years, 2 years, 5 years? I'm not sure, but it's there. And he's like, why do you say that? I'm like, vibe coding. A CRM is just a bunch of tables, right? And in fact, most salespeople use CRMs because their boss makes them, not because they sell anymore.
Right.
And in fact, most people using a CRM, what's the first thing they do? They export to Excel. They export to a spreadsheet. When your boss wants that pipeline report, very few people are doing it in the software. They just export it, clean it up, send it to their boss, right?
Yeah.
So it's a glorified spreadsheet. All of them are, right? And I was like, you could totally vibe code that. And you could vibe code a CRM specific for you, right? You don't have to, and it's $20 a month, right? It's like, it's not going to cost you a whole lot, and unlimited users, right? And he's like, yeah, man, like, I think you're full of it. Like, you want to argue with me. Swider's just like laughing because he thinks it's, I entertain him. But, so I was like, look, dude, don't listen to me. Don't buy into my narrative. Do this. Go home and vibe code something. Just go get Lovable. There's a bunch of them out there now. Just go build the CRM that you wish you had as a salesperson, because he was like chief revenue officer or something. Like, just go build the CRM you wish you had. And so, do that. He connects me on LinkedIn, which seems to be commonplace this day. Like, you meet someone, then you get a LinkedIn request.
Sure. Yeah.
thought I'd never hear from him again, right? He sends me a message on LinkedIn, and he's like, "Hey, can we chat?" Send him my Calendly link, and I talked to him like 2 days later. He's like, "Dude, can I show you what I built?" And he shows me basically a CRM built specifically for general contractors.
Hmm.
Turns out he'd worked in construction, like just coincidentally. I had no idea, right?
Yeah, I was going to say,
But
is that a coincidence or not?
coincidentally, he'd worked in construction 15 years ago in the construction software business. He saw my background. I think he thought, oh, this is good. He built this thing almost done, like almost 100% complete. I was like, how much time did you put into it? He's like, 20 hours. And he's like, I think if I put another 10 hours into it, I could button it up and then I could put it out in the market. I could start selling it. I can still keep my day job. I could keep my day job and do this. And so he was just like, absolutely. He's like, when you said that, I'm like, oh, here's this guy, arrogant asshole, just being whatever. And but I was curious enough to go do the work. And he did.
Yeah.
So he's like saying basically in 40 hours, he thinks he can displace. Not that there's any good construction CRMs out there, by the way,
No.
but that he can displace that. I mean, think about that. I mean, that's the world we're living in. And, I have this conversation with people when I do talks and everything else. They're like, I've got a 24-year-old and a 22-year-old. They make fun of how slow I am at typing. Like, Dad, like hunt and peck, like you're the worst. Like, how did you not learn to type ever?
Did you take typing class in high school?
No, I went to high school in India. So I missed.
Okay.
There's a lot of stuff I missed by going to high school in India. I was born and raised here, but went to high school in India. So there's a lot. Like I don't even know what a prom is about. I think it's like the weirdest thing I've ever seen. Like I don't understand it. I don't know.
There were no typewriters at prom.
There were no typewriters, but there's a lot of things about American high school that I don't understand, which is funny because most people are like, "Did you go to high school?" No, I just skipped that part. But I tell people when I give talks, my 3-year-old is not going to know what a keyboard and mouse is.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way. Right. And I was joking around. Somebody posted something on Twitter about their 3-year-old bullying them or something and I was like, well, with AI, my 3-year-old right now just yells out into the atmosphere, I want cookie, whatever. Right. Well, and mom and dad get it for him, right? As he gets older, that's just going to be AI delivering whatever he wants, right? He's just going to yell into the sky, I wanted the latest Xbox, and it's just going to show up, right?
So 3D print right there in front of him.
Yeah. So my point is like this interface thing, right? Around like how we are getting, what I say is we're getting closer and closer to the compute.
Yeah. And just for a frame of reference for the AIAs and the ACECs and the rest of the alphabet soup out there, in our mastermind groups, our innovation leaders mastermind groups, our construction tech leaders mastermind groups, vibe coding is a regular topic of discussion, right? So whether I don't know anybody, I don't know of anybody in any of our mastermind groups that went to AIA National in Boston. Mm-hmm. And so I'm picking on, for those of you that don't know, I'm picking on AIA National because I'm raising my hand, AIA member. Architecture is my background. I also didn't go to
Did you go this year?
I did not go. This is the first time
and like how many
first time I missed it in 10 years.
Yeah.
Maybe more.
Do you feel smarter for it?
Well, no, I hate to reveal the reason that I didn't go. I thought it was at the end of the month. And I had somebody texted me like the week of, and they said, hey, when are you landing in Boston? I'm like, I haven't even booked my flights. They're like, I'm at the airport.
Yeah.
Oh. So, because I always, well, I won't give away my trade secrets, but I missed it this year. That was that was my own thing.
Well, next year the AI is going to remind you. By the way,
They will. They will. It's in San Diego next year, by the way. Hard to pass that up.
yeah,
Um, but none of the folks in our mastermind groups went to AI National. Maybe not even ACEC. There's a lot of engineers, um, and these are the people that are leading innovation in firms across
yeah,
the North America. Well, now we have European members in our mastermind groups now, so at least across half the globe, and they're talking about vibe coding. So this is real. So why are we talking about a survey that you posted on vibe coding? It's because you posted in LinkedIn. As we're recording this, it was a handful of days ago. It's got a lot of comments, a lot of reactions. So let me read it out, and then we'll unpack it, as is our tradition. And we'll talk about other things. We'll take other tangents that it's related to as well. So here's what you wrote. Vibe coding is the next level of getting the SME, subject matter expert, even closer to the compute, which you said something very close to that just a minute ago.
Mhm.
Is it perfect? No. However, every iteration of getting the human brain closer to the compute has been imperfect. Punch cards, anyone? Side note, I remember when I was a kid going to my dad's office. He worked for, it was International Harvester back then. I remember going to his office and going into the really cold computer room and getting punch cards. That's how old I am. You went on to say, my mom was super unimpressed by GUI when she was a COBOL mainframe programmer. I think this is one of those Google it moments for the majority of the audience out there, maybe.
Graphical user interface, but yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Foundationally, early adopters will be rewarded. It has always been that way. Okay, so we've gone round and round about this a little bit, but what else do we need to pull out of that post that we haven't touched on yet before we kind of take another
well,
tangent here?
I think there's a couple things there, right? One, like most generations, right? My mom thought the mouse and clicking on things just got in the way of writing code,
Interesting.
right? It's
Okay.
like, why do you need a mouse? Why do you have like you know how to write code or you don't write code, right? Like it's just it was for her this whole object oriented thing
Mm-hmm.
was just like unimpressive to her.
Yeah.
Right. And then, same thing when I remember when people started building websites, what, 1992, 1990, something like that.
Sure.
And everybody's like, oh, and HTML, that's just like nothing. I'm like, yeah, it's
Yeah.
nothing complicated. But then all of a sudden, things like Microsoft Front Page, Google it. And actually, I was telling my kids about Cold Fusion. I used to use Cold Fusion. I knew the Allaire brothers back then, right? It was Cold Fusion was the big, if you
Mhm.
wanted like a GUI tool to develop a website, it was a thing. And it's just so funny. I was telling my kids about that. And I was like, by the way, do you know what one of the Allaire brothers is doing right now? And they're like, no. I'm like, he just took Circle public. So Jeremy just took, he's like, oh, you should call him. And I was like, oh, we probably wouldn't, if we walked by each other, we wouldn't recognize either. This was like
Mhm.
30 years ago, right?
Yeah.
But every time you add a layer of intuitiveness, the people
Right.
before that really kind of poo-poo it. And it was interesting. Not a huge show disclaimer. I'm not a huge Joe Rogan fan. I'm not like I watch it. One, nobody has 3 or 4 hours to listen to anything. I don't know who does, but unless you're driving a truck or something, right? Like, who has 3
That
hours?
that may
But
explain his
I
target audience pretty well.
no, that was implied, Jeff. But I do look at who his guests are. And this week he had the founder of Replit on.
Okay.
Super interesting conversation. Of course, Joe Rogan doesn't know what vibe coding is, so he's explaining to him like, here's what all this stuff means. And it was interesting what he brought up because he's a little bit younger than me, maybe a good bit younger, but he was talking about his first computer being DOS based. And he was like, the thing about DOS based computers, it booted up and you ended up with a prompt.
Right.
So you actually had to understand something about compute, right? You had to understand, like, here's
Right.
how a computer works. He's like, the problem with iPads and iPhones, people aren't hacking on them. They're not developing anything further. They just become mass user experiences, right? So he
Right.
talks about, which I agree with, right? When you had to go through an effort to configure your BIOS or segment a drive, like all the nonsense we used to have to do back in the day just to get the computer to work, you had to know what these things were. Like, oh my God, this RAM is incompatible with this motherboard. Let me go back to the store. Got the wrong RAM. That stuff made you fairly good about knowing how things work. And
Right.
now we have a compute generation that does not know how things work, right? So there's always going to be people that complain. These kids today, right?
Sure.
So is vibe coding perfect? No. Was early days of Windows perfect? Blue screen of death, anyone? Google it. Right. So I think there is some imperfections, and the people that get focused on these imperfections as an like, I'm going to wait till it's perfect. You and everyone else, you and your
Yeah.
grandfather, right? So when I
Yeah.
talk about early adopters get rewarded, that is 100% the case.
Mhm.
Early adoption is not for everyone.